call to eliminate all tariffs in trade talks with the United States. Speaking on Fuji television, Ishiba stressed that discussions have gradually come together and that Japan's relationship with US President Donald Trump is surprisingly good. He mentioned the recent US-UK trade deal, which maintains a 10% tariff, but called for a 0% tariff agreement. Ishiba argues that lowering tariffs on auto imports would benefit both countries' economies. Japan currently faces a 25% tariff on auto exports to the United States. He also addressed domestic economic policies, expressing caution over possible reductions in the consumption tax, highlighting the impact on Japan's finances. With these key trade and economic issues, Ishiba is pushing for significant policy reforms. Well, joining us to continue this discussion on trade amid Trump's sweeping tariff action is Ross Feingold, a political risk analyst, joining us from Taipei. Ross, as always, thank you ever so much for being here. Let's lead off firstly with these talks that took place in Switzerland. Donald Trump calling this a potential total reset. Is that a Trumpism, or do you think that we might be getting closer towards normality with US-China tariffs?
I'm not sure if I would use the word normality, but I think it's clear from Trump's statements as of now that he's eager to reach some kind of deal. The deal would encompass things like lowering the tariffs on both sides, but also what's very important to Trump is China committing to buy more U.S. agricultural products, as well as China dealing with or doing away those many non-tariff barriers that really make it difficult for American companies to succeed in China. So the last part, allowing more American companies to do business in China, doing away with red tape and bureaucracy and restrictions on foreign ownership and things of that nature. It seems that this is also important to Trump. It's certainly important to the U.S. business world. One of the interesting things about this is Trump's desire that American companies have a more easier ability to do business in China is certainly not the decoupling that some China hawks in the United States would want. If it was up to some United States politicians, U.S. companies would stop doing business in China. But at least Trump's negotiating position seems to be that he wants China to do away with those non-tariff barriers that make it difficult for American companies to succeed in China.
Yes, Ross, this of course comes after the first announcement of an agreement between the United Kingdom and the United States. It seems that these discussions that Trump said was the reason for his tariff action is now coming to fruition. I want to move to the comments made by Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, where he's calling for zero tariffs, unlike the 10% baseline tariff, which will stay with the United Kingdom. Given these discussions are ongoing, do you think that is feasible?
Difficult. I'm not sure that the Trump administration has a desire for mutual 0% tariffs with Japan at the moment, but that'll be the subject of negotiations. The good thing for Prime Minister Ishiba is that it appears Japan is a priority country for the United States, just like the UK, China, and several others are. So there's some good news there for Japan, but it's going to be a difficult negotiation. We have to see what the Trump administration's negotiating positions with Japan are, but I'd be surprised if it was a bilateral 0%.
Ross, of course, Japan key to the auto industry. 25% tariffs placed on that sector by Donald Trump. This also affecting border nations like Mexico and Canada, as well as specific implementation on steel, aluminium and other areas. Do you think Ishiba's remarks and potential negotiations could see rolling back on these specific sanctions, or do you think they're there to stay as well?
I think we'll see some rollback. That's just the nature of a bilateral negotiation. Maybe not on automobiles, because that's a sector that President Trump has taken a specific interest in. He was recently in Michigan to celebrate the 100 days of the Trump administration. He knows how important the votes are. He knows that the tariffs that he imposed on Mexico and Canada did raise the cost for U.S. auto manufacturing. So he's looking to take care of the U.S. auto industry. I don't think he's looking to put it at a competitive disadvantage to make it easier for cars to be made in Japan and imported into the United States at a 0% or a low tariff. Trump would say that those Japanese companies should open more factories in the United States. And to be fair to the Japanese auto manufacturers, they do operate manufacturing facilities in the United States. But Trump would simply say add capacity, which of course is easier said than done. But again, I don't think Trump is going to give away 0% tariffs on cars made in Japan.
Yes, Ross, and to bring an end to this discussion, of course, there has been instability in the global economic markets. Given that these deals seem to be progressing, India is close to a deal. Of course, the United Kingdom has already come to an agreement. We know that 15 countries were in direct talks and 70 have faced these Liberation Day levies. How do you think the markets will react if there is a domino effect of nations agreeing reductions with Trump?
Well, markets like certainty, they dislike uncertainty. So to the extent that the United States and its major trading partners within a relatively short period of time begin to reach deals and begin to get that flow of goods and capital going again, I think markets will be happy. I mean, markets they're smart enough to know the U.S. is not going to have zero bilateral tariffs with all its trading partners. That's just unrealistic. But again, to have some certainty on what the tariff barriers are, businesses and manufacturers specifically could start to price that in, and life will go on.
Absolutely. Ross Feingold, as always, thank you very much for joining us. We will be speaking to you once again after the turn of the hour. We move now to the Middle East.